You think your relationship is fine because you're not screaming at each other. You go to dinner. You watch shows together. You laugh sometimes. But underneath, something is quietly dying, and you won't notice until year 4, when you look at your partner and realize you don't actually know them anymore. The most dangerous relationship mistakes aren't the loud ones. They're the silent ones. The ones that erode connections so gradually, you don't feel it happening until one day the foundation cracks, and you're standing in the rubble asking how you got here. Most relationships that fail don't explode. They fade. And the fading starts with patterns so subtle you think they're normal. Here are the 8 silent mistakes that destroy relationships before year 5. If you're doing even 2 of these, you're on borrowed time. Mistake 1. Scorekeeping. You remember every time you did the dishes and they didn't. Every time you initiated plans and they didn't. Every time you said I love you first and they didn't. You're building a mental ledger of who gives more, who sacrifices more, who cares more. And one day you're going to present that ledger in an argument like it's evidence in a trial. Here's the problem. Scorekeeping turns love into a transaction. And the moment love becomes transactional, it stops being love. It becomes a business deal where you're constantly auditing the return on investment. Real relationships aren't 50-50. They're 100-100, where both people give fully without measuring. But when you keep score, you start withholding. You stop doing things for them because you feel they owe you. And they feel it. They don't know why the warmth is gone, but they feel the distance. This kills intimacy faster than cheating, because it happens every single day in 1,000 tiny moments of resentment. Mistake 2. Assuming they should just know. You're upset about something. They ask what's wrong. You say nothing. They accept that and move on. You're furious they didn't push harder. Why? Because you think if they really loved you, they'd read your mind. They'd know you're hurt. They'd know what you need without you having to say it. This is a fantasy, and it destroys relationships because it sets up a test your partner can't pass. You're mad they failed a test they didn't know they were taking. Meanwhile, they think everything is fine because you said nothing was wrong. The resentment builds. You pull away. They don't understand why. And instead of talking about it, you add it to the mental list of times they failed you. Here's the truth. If you don't communicate what you need clearly, you have no right to be angry when they don't give it to you. Expecting someone to read your mind is expecting them to fail so you can justify your resentment. Mistake 3. Letting resentment replace conversation. Something bothers you. Maybe they always leave dishes in the sink. Maybe they never plan date nights. Maybe they spend too much time on their phone. You don't say anything because it feels small and you don't want to be annoying, so you swallow it. Then it happens again and again. And every time, a little resentment builds. You're not mad about the dishes anymore. You're mad about the 47 times they left dishes in the sink and didn't care enough to change. But they don't know there have been 47 times. They think it happened once or twice. So when you finally explode, they're blindsided. They say it's just dishes. Why are you overreacting? But it's not about dishes. It's about months of unspoken frustration that fermented into contempt. And contempt is the #1 predictor of divorce, according to relationship research. You could have had a 2-minute conversation after the first time. Instead, you had 6 months of silent resentment that turned a minor annoyance into a relationship-ending pattern. Mistake 4. Prioritizing everyone else first. Your job needs you. Your friends need you. Your family needs you. Your partner? They'll understand. They're always there. So you keep pushing them to the bottom of the priority list because you assume they're not going anywhere. You cancel date night for a work event. You skip their family dinner because you're tired. You give your best energy to everyone else and your leftovers to the person you claim matters most. And for a while, they do understand. But understanding isn't infinite. One day they stop asking you to prioritize them, not because they don't care, because they've accepted they're not a priority. And once someone accepts they're not a priority, they start emotionally detaching to protect themselves. They stop sharing their day. They stop planning a future. They stop fighting for the relationship because they're tired of fighting alone. By the time you notice, they're already halfway out the door. Not because they stopped loving you, because you taught them their love didn't matter enough. Mistake 5. Using intimacy as a weapon. You're mad at them, so you pull back physically. No affection, no sex, no closeness. You're punishing them by withholding connection. And maybe it works short term. Maybe they apologize. Maybe they try to fix whatever you're upset about. But long term, you're teaching them that intimacy is conditional. That your love is something they have to earn by behaving the way you want. Here's what happens. They stop seeing intimacy as connection and start seeing it as a reward system. And eventually, they stop wanting it because it feels like control, not love. Or worse, they find connection somewhere else. Not because they're bad people, because humans need intimacy, and you turned yours into a bargaining chip. Withholding physical connection doesn't fix problems. It creates new ones. If you're upset, talk about it. Don't punish them by removing the thing that's supposed to make you feel close. Mistake 6. Staying in the relationship out of comfort, not connection. You've been together 3 years. You have a routine. You know their family. You have shared friends. You're comfortable. But you're not connected. You don't talk about real things anymore. You don't feel excited to see them. You're not miserable. But you're not happy. You're just existing next to each other. And you stay because leaving feels too hard. You'd have to tell people. You'd have to split stuff. You'd have to be alone. So you stay. And every month you stay out of comfort instead of connection. The gap between you widens. By year 5, you're roommates. You have a life together but not a relationship. And one day, one of you will meet someone who makes you feel something again. And this comfortable relationship will implode because it was built on convenience, not love. Comfort is not the same as happiness. If the main reason you're staying is because leaving is inconvenient, you've already left emotionally. Mistake 7. Avoiding conflict entirely. You think the best relationships don't fight. So when something bothers you, you swallow it. When you disagree, you give in. When tension builds, you change the subject. You're keeping the peace. But you're not. You're avoiding the relationship. Healthy relationships have conflict, not because they're broken. Because two different people with different needs and perspectives have to navigate life together, and sometimes those needs collide. The couples who never fight aren't peaceful, they're avoidant peaceful. And all that unresolved tension sits under the surface until one day it erupts. Or, worse, it doesn't. It just quietly kills the relationship, because you've trained yourselves not to address problems. You think you're protecting the relationship by avoiding conflict. You're not. You're letting small issues become unfixable because you never built the skill of working through them together. Mistake 8. Believing love is enough. You love them. They love you. That should be enough. Right? Wrong. Love is the foundation, but it's not the structure. You also need respect, communication, shared values, conflict resolution skills, emotional maturity, and commitment to growth. Without those, love becomes a nostalgic feeling you had once while the relationship slowly falls apart. Here's the brutal truth. You can love someone deeply and still be completely wrong for each other. You can love someone and still hurt them. You can love someone and still fail the relationship. Love doesn't fix incompatible life goals. Love doesn't fix poor communication. Love doesn't fix emotional immaturity. Love is necessary, but it's not sufficient. The relationships that last aren't the ones where people love each other the most. They're the ones where people love each other and do the work. Most of these mistakes don't feel like mistakes when you're making them. Scorekeeping feels like fairness. Not communicating feels like avoiding drama. Prioritizing work feels responsible. Withholding intimacy feels like standing your ground. Staying for comfort feels like commitment. Avoiding conflict feels like peace. Believing love is enough feels romantic. But all of them slowly kill the relationship. And by year 5, you're looking at someone you barely recognize and wondering what went wrong. What went wrong was the accumulation of 1,000 small choices that prioritized comfort over connection. silence over communication, resentment over resolution. Here's the good news. If you're recognizing these patterns now, you can change them, not by doing some grand gesture, but by having the hard conversations, by saying what you need instead of expecting them to guess, by addressing problems when they're small instead of waiting until they're catastrophic, by prioritizing your partner before they stop asking to be prioritized, by fighting for the relationship instead of avoiding the discomfort. Relationships that survive past year 5 aren't the ones that never had these problems. They're the ones where both people noticed the problems and chose to fix them before it was too late. The question is whether you're going to recognize the pattern and change, or whether you're going to keep making the same silent mistakes until the relationship quietly dies. So here's my question for you. Which of these 8 mistakes are you making right now? And what's the first conversation you need to have with your partner this week? Drop a comment. Be honest. And if this made you uncomfortable, that's probably because it's true. Subscribe for more relationship content that tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.